can try and win championships, and that's what it's all about. When you look from the outside and you watch this team, I know we're going to have a real good, solid hockey team this year.
Welcome back to Fireside Rangers. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Eric Wilson. An absolutely tragic ending to the Rangers season as they've been eliminated from the Eastern Conference Finals. The Stanley Cup playoffs completely done here as the Tampa Bay Lightning win Game 6. Lightning at home, Rangers unable to close it out in Game 5, had to travel on the road to Tampa Bay in Game 6, and they came out short. 2-1 defeat. It was close there for 20 seconds, and then the Lightning just took the lead right back, basically 20 seconds after the Rangers equalized. Super unfortunate loss, and I know everybody's really upset. Proud of the team for the way that they fought all season long. The underdogs made it way further than anybody expected, but the season's come to a disappointing end. Eric, how are you feeling, and what are your thoughts on the Rangers and this disappointing loss to the Lightning?
Yeah, obviously, I'm pretty upset from the outcome of the series. Last night's game, that wasn't the way that we should have played. That's not the way that we wanted to play. Um, there was a lot of issues that I saw there, which we'll get into. But overall, I'm more than satisfied with the way that the season went. At the beginning of the season, I was expecting us to be a playoff team, but I would have been surprised had we made it to even the second round. So the fact that we made it to the conference finals, made it to literally the last team eliminated before the finals and took the back-to-back champions to 6 games. That's a great season, and it shows that we have a very bright future ahead of us.
Yeah, and you said disappointing end to the series, but not disappointing end necessarily to the season. I mean, of course it is, but really we should all be proud of the Rangers and how far they made it this season. Like I said, underdogs. This was a phenomenal season for a very young Rangers team, the youngest team in the NHL. The future is as bright as it possibly could be for our beloved New York Rangers. So, yeah, disappointing end to the series, but I know all Rangers fans are kind of rallying behind the team right now, as they should, because this was really a heroic season that they overcame a whole lot and accomplished way more than anyone had ever expected. But they did lose this series, and there are a few reasons that Eric and I believe caused them to lose this series. And one of the main reasons is the Rangers' over-reliance on Igor Shesterkin. We feel like they rely on him to do way too much, and I understand he is, world-class goalie. Nobody's better than Igor except maybe Vasilevsky. That was the storyline going into this series, was these are the two best goalies. Who's going to come out on top? Who's going to concede more goals? Who's going to come away with the series win? And Igor did pretty much the best that he could in every single game. He was phenomenal throughout the entire series, but unfortunately, there was a lot of shots getting up on Igor. The shot disparity was pretty large in the margins favoring the Tampa Bay Lightning, and ultimately that's why the Rangers cracked and conceded the series. But Eric, what are your thoughts on Igor Shesterkin's performance throughout the series, and what can the Rangers do to give him a bit more help?
Throughout this series against Tampa, Igor played phenomenal. I couldn't have asked for anything more from him. He was making crazy saves left and right, kept us in every single game when, frankly, we should have been losing by a lot more. And it's sad because it kind of seems like we're starting to witness the same story that we saw with Henrik Lundqvist. He was the heart of our team for a good decade throughout the 2010s. And he never won a cup. The Rangers never won a cup because of how we over relied on him. And we saw we would make deep playoff runs every single year, but eventually the team in front of us on offense and defense just wasn't enough for Lundqvist to carry. And that's my one biggest fear that I have right now for the Rangers, is that Igor might go through the same thing. You can have a world-class goalie like Igor Shesterkin, but if you don't have a solid team in front of him, you're not going to win the cup. So there's definitely a lot of changes that we need to make if in order to give Igor that help that he needs to carry us to the finals and eventually win the cup. And I think the biggest one of that is to improve our offense. Obviously, throughout the series against Tampa, we were playing against Vasilevsky, arguably the best goalie in the world. So I wasn't expecting us to put up 4 or 5 goals a game like we saw a lot throughout the regular season. But only scoring 1 goal in our last 3 games of the series, that's not enough. And there's a lot of work that we're going to need to do throughout this offseason to build a better team that can go even farther.
Yeah, I think offensively, that was the biggest struggle for the Rangers. The offense was kind of their kryptonite in this series. We've been saying it for the last few episodes. If the Rangers want to win this next game, they need to be better offensively. We've said that countless times. And that was the main thing. In the 5v5 play, they just were not efficient. They weren't putting the puck in the net. And that ultimately was the cause of the demise of the Rangers. But one of the other controversies coming out of this game, there is a storyline surrounding Capo Caco and Gerard Gallant's decision to make him a healthy scratch. Now, I know that's one that a lot of fans are super frustrated with. And Eric, I'm curious to get your take on this decision from Gallant. I know, again, a lot of fans are kind of tearing him to shreds. He didn't want to talk about it at all after the loss when he was questioned, when he was asked afterwards about his lineup decision. The head coach, no mood to discuss it. He said, quote, "I'm not going to talk about it. Today is not the time for me." So hopefully he'll give some explanation down the road. Of course, Kako is an impending free agent, so we'll see what his future looks like with the Rangers. And maybe it's never going to be talked about by Gerard Gallant because, it's just going to be the end of Capo Caco's time with the Rangers. But that's something that we plan on discussing in a future episode. But right now, Eric, I just want to get your take on Gerard Gallant's decision to scratch Capo Caco from last night's game.
I don't think it was a smart decision whatsoever. Frankly, Capo Caco might not have been that big with point production. However, the kid line, which he was a part of, was our best line throughout these entire playoffs. And I think it was a poor decision to try to break them up as much as he did. And then especially just take Kako out of the lineup. Like I said, he doesn't put up that many points, but he's one of our best defensive forwards that we have on the team. And then to replace him, you put in a guy like Dryden Hunt, who basically is the exact same player as Kako, but just not as good. So I get it. When you lose 3 games in a row, you do have to change the lineup up a little bit. Something isn't working. You got to make a change, but I don't think that was the right change. As we discussed last episode, Ryan Strome could have taken him out. That would not have been as big of a deal if Kako Capo was taken out. So yeah, I definitely don't agree with that whatsoever. And now it adds a little bit of confusion looking towards Kako's future. He's a free agent coming up. People are saying he might be a bust, second overall pick from 2019. Hasn't put up that many career points so far. But people forget he's still young. He's only 20 years old, I'm pretty sure. So you need to give him time to develop. You need to give him that playing time. And taking him out of the lineup in a game 6 when you're on the brink of elimination is not the right move.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think the decision to break up the kid line personally just does not make sense, as we've been saying throughout all of our episodes, all series long. The kid line has been the best line. We've had moments where the kid line just shocked the world and basically dominated and was the reason for the Rangers being as successful as they were. We talk about how the Rangers have the brightest future because they have the youngest team, but we also talk about how this super young team, the young players have already started to realize their potential and they've already started to show out and be the heart and soul of the Rangers. I mean, all of the fans, they go to the Garden and they're cheering on the kid line harder than they're cheering on anybody else minus Igor Shesterkin. So I just think the decision by Gerard Gallant to break up the kid line in itself was not the right decision. And as you mentioned, a guy like Ryan Strome is out there. Ryan Strome has really not been providing a whole lot for the Rangers, but Capo Caco, being part of the kid line, has been providing a lot of value to the Rangers. And I just don't agree with the decision to make him a healthy scratch. If there is some sort of injury that maybe we don't know about and something's bothering Capo Caco and lingering, okay, but to everybody's knowledge, it was a healthy scratch, and it's a puzzling decision nonetheless by Gerard Gallant. But another main reason that the Rangers did lose this game, I mean, you do have to look at the circumstances entering into the series, right, where you had a 9-day rest period for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and then you had the Rangers coming off of back-to-back 7-game series. So the fatigue, honestly, just caught up with the Rangers, in my opinion. I think they came out at the beginning of the season or series. They were really hot. They were coming off of a great 7-game series with the Hurricanes, and they were hot. They were excited, and they were pumped up, ready to go. And they take game 1, they take game 2 at home, both of those games at home, and everybody's super excited about the Rangers. But I just feel like game by game, their productivity and efficiency just dwindled down into nothing. And it just looked like fatigue got the best of the Rangers to me. It's only a day break between each game, and by the end of the series, they looked like they ran out of gas and they were ready to just kind of hang up the cleats and pack it up for the season, which is unfortunate to say. But I really just think the grueling schedule that they had with back-to-back 7-game series, it left them at a major disadvantage for the Lightning, who sure came out a little bit rusty in the first 2 games, but they're the defending champions. They were always going to bounce back, and they did. And that 9 days of rest really helped them to bounce back and reach full strength. So, Eric, what are your thoughts on that? Do you blame fatigue and, the back-to-back 7-game series for the Rangers kind of running out of juice at the end of the series?
Yeah, I think it definitely plays a big factor in the way that the series went. us going to game 7 against Carolina and then the Lightning having a 9-day rest was like both a blessing and a curse because it gave us the opportunity to come into the series hot and ready to play. Well, it took the Lightning a game or two to really like get back into the swing of things. But then, as you saw later throughout the series, the Lightning were right back playing hot, and the Rangers just really had a steep decline in their play. You could tell by the end of game 6, we were slow, we were tired, kind of looked like we really just didn't want to be there anymore. But that's what happens when you play games every other day for almost a month straight, and you have a roster that's like an average of like 26 years old. They are going to get tired, and that's why all we can do is kind of just wait and hope for the future. Our young guys, our stars are going to get to their prime, and then when that happens, we'll be a dangerous team. We'll be a team that can compete with the Tampa Bay Lightning on the same level as them. There was 7-game series in the conference finals. So yeah, it definitely did play a big factor, but there's really not much that we could have done about that. We just got to wait and hope for the best in the future.
Yeah, and I still think the future is incredibly bright for the Rangers. They've got some decent cap space to spend in the offseason, some decent money to spend on free agents. And really, you mentioned it there, the young talent is there. It's going to reach its potential soon enough. And I think it already has started to, as I mentioned earlier, because you're seeing the young talent already come out to play. And we did go 6 games with the Tampa Bay Lightning, the defending champs. So it is still an impressive season by the Rangers. It's a disappointing end. But nonetheless, this was a very impressive season. Nothing to be too upset about. And we just got to look forward to hopefully a productive offseason and then, a very good 2022 season. But a little bit of news for the Rangers. There's a breakup day scheduled for tomorrow, which means that we're going to be getting interviews with Gerard Gallant and the players. That'll be at noon. So we'll cover some of the great quotes that we get from that tomorrow on this podcast. But also, one other piece of news, the New York Rangers have come to terms on a 1-year deal with forward Vitaly Kravtsov. So the terms of the deal have yet to be disclosed, but it's reported to be a one-way contract for $875,000. Eric, what are your thoughts on this signing, and how do you think he'll fare with the Rangers?
It's an interesting signing for me because Kravtsov has spent a little bit of time with the Rangers. He ended up leaving and going to the KHL because he felt he wasn't getting enough playing time as he deserved. But that was mainly because we were trying to develop our more prominent young guys like Lafreniere, Kakko, and Hedel. But now that they've already found their place on the team, I think it'll be interesting to see where Kravtsov fits on this lineup. A 1-year deal, $875K, if that's exactly what it is. That's not a huge deal whatsoever. If it doesn't work out, it's not anything that'll mess us up in the long run. So I think it's pretty good for now. Let him come back, try out again. Hopefully he finds his place on this team and can perform very well because he did play very good in the KHL after he left us.
Yeah, he did play really well in the KHL, and the stats on that were 19 regular season contests, 6 goals and 7 assists for 13 points. During the playoffs, 7 goals and a total of 10 points in 15 games. So definitely had a very productive season in the KHL, and it'll be interesting to see how he fares with the Rangers, just kind of as another one of those young developmental pieces, as Eric just mentioned. The young guys for the Rangers have really already started to break out, so here's just another young guy to add to the mix that can hopefully develop and maybe be added to one of the prominent lines down the road. But that's kind of the wrap up of the end of the season for the New York Rangers there. Make sure to stay tuned to Fireside Rangers. We're going to be having hopefully daily content, if not every other day. We're going to be hitting you with all the Rangers news. We're going to be talking about the impending free agents, the potential free agents that the Rangers could sign, and of course the upcoming NHL draft. It's going to be really exciting, so stay tuned here. Subscribe if you're new. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video. Comment down below, what are your thoughts on the end of the Rangers season? Who do you blame? Do you blame Gerard Gallant? Do you blame the players? And what was the main reason for this loss in your opinion? Let us know down below in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you all. Like I said, make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, ring the bell so you don't miss a video, and we'll catch you all on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Rangers.
He shoots. He's